The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Monday, the 10th day of February, 2025. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. I'm Jamal Hartman, and Maya Palacio will be with you in a bit to bring you the latest in the news break brought to you by People's. Happy Monday, everybody. How's everybody feeling today? Yeah. Like you, I haven't, probably like you, I haven't had much sleep either. You know, every now and then something happens on a Sunday night and you kind of break those discipline rules. And last night was one of those things. Yeah, it was one of the so many things to pick out of last night. Oh, what am I talking about? There was a sporting event that took place last night. It usually happens once a year, and there's usually a concert in the middle of it. And last night, the team from the city of brotherly love, that's Philadelphia, they defeated a team from Missouri that's called Kansas City. Yeah, did you all know that Kansas City is actually in Missouri, not Kansas, the state? Anyway, that's another story. Donald Trump didn't know that a few years ago. He said, congratulations to the state of Kansas. But anyway, the Eagles won the Super Bowl, right? But what was more interested, like stood out to me? Well, first off, as we say that, Charles H. Jeffers II, who's always in the audience, a big congratulations to him because he's always on about these Eagles that I don't think anyone seemed to care about until last night. So congrats to Charles. And also our colleague Larry Marshall Jr., who is a big Philadelphia Eagles fan. So congratulations to both of them. Yeah, congrats to him. But yeah, the Eagles won the game. But it was so interesting because the Kansas City Chiefs were going for like a three-peat. And they got shocked. No one expected that. You all don't see where I'm going with this yet, do you? PLP and David Bird going for a three-peat. Again, y'all see where I'm going with this. The Kansas City Chiefs were going for a three-peat last night. They were not expected to lose. But they were not expected also to get beaten like that. All I'm saying, I've said it to you week after week. Any given Sunday, that's how they look at the American football, right? Any given Sunday. Now, I'm not here to tell you that the Bermuda Progressive Labor Party is going to lose. I'm simply saying anything can happen. Yeah, that's something. Also, the halftime show. Y'all see the halftime show? Split opinion. Last night when I went to sleep, and this is across races. It's not all black people enjoyed it and not all white people hated it. Let's just address that quickly. But when I woke up, I was very surprised with many staunch Republican supporters like Tommy Loren actually happy about the halftime show. And I started reading. And then it hit me as I was reading some of the very hardline conservatives' comments saying, actually, I appreciate the meaning of Kendrick Lamar's halftime show. He was outing Hollywood and pedophilia, some of them were saying, and at least he had everyone covered. All the women were covered, and there were no Black Panther salutes, and it was the red, white, and blue in the flag. And I was like, you also missed the fact that the red, white, and blue in the flag, there was a split down the middle to show how divided the country is, huh? There were a lot of subliminals. And folks, I don't like to think when I'm trying to have fun. So to me, I wasn't as entertained because I like more mainstream things. I would have went for some soca, Macho Montano, something like that. But for those who are into that thing, I mean, yeah, it took me a while to get a lot of the subliminals because I just don't understand West Coast hip hop. So to each their own. I also want to apologize to all the children out there. Yes, I'm going to apologize. Your Uncle Jay got in a fight with Elmo on Twitter last night. Yep. I got in a fight with Elmo. So I want to publicly apologize to Elmo and all those who support Elmo and the children who love Elmo. But I want to say something to Elmo, right? This comes from my heart. I get that you want harmony. And what Elmo said, folks, was Elmo basically said that Elmo wants both teams to just have fun. That's what Elmo said last night on Twitter. So I decided to respond to Elmo. And this was my response to Elmo. I said, quote, "The hottest place in hell is reserved for those who remain neutral in times of great moral conflict," end quote, Dr. King. And I said, with all due respect, Elmo, this isn't the time for neutrality. Save that for Sesame Street. And some people said, come on, Jamal, that's Elmo. And so I apologized to Elmo. I should have left well enough alone. And I wish you all the best going forward on Sesame Street. One final thing. The Jordan brand. I love, I was never a Michael Jordan fan. Never a big buyer of Michael Jordan stuff because I just can't or couldn't afford it. But that commercial released immediately after the game of Jalen Hurts went so hard, man. And if you haven't seen it, and I had to share with people the story behind it, the legalities, and then the commercial that the Jordan brand dropped last week. In the mid-'80s, when Nike signed Michael Jordan, he was fined because the sneakers, the shoes, were against NBA rules. And Nike decided to pay his fines every game. And the purpose of the commercial is you can't ban greatness. Why do I share that? You can't ban greatness. Folks, you know me. I'm not about abiding by laws if I think they're unjust. I just don't believe in it. But I believe in artist expression. I believe in the freedom. The New York Yankees have this thing where you can't have hair below your lip and the like. I could never do that. Like, we can't say freedom and then keep people from, expressing themselves, especially if it's not harming others. I loved what the Jordan brand did. I love for Jalen Hurts, what he was able to do. And if you haven't seen the commercials, I'll put them up on my LinkedIn today. And if you don't have LinkedIn, get one. All right, let's jump into today's conversation. Well, actually, good morning to you. David Michael Wilson says, make this Monday a meaningful one. Happy Monday. And Suzanne Ingham says, awesome and marvelous Monday, Jamal and Maya. Good luck. Good to be back with TDH. We've got greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome the One Bermuda Alliance candidate for constituency 25, Dr. Douglas Couto, onto the show. The Daily Play is more Bermuda trivia today. Folks, don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels. Just stay up to date with all that we have going on, right? Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Folks, let's jump into today's discussion. Today's discussion is brought to you by our friends.
The Daily Discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Visit TitanEXBDA.com, your leading tour and transport provider specializing in Black History tours throughout the island. And SecureBDA.com for all your property management, waste management, residential, and commercial trucking needs. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is our commitment to you.
Alrighty. Welcome back. Question of the morning. Get right to it. What are your thoughts on political campaign funding? What are your thoughts? How do you think this impacts us? And also, yes or no? Should political candidates have to share who is funding their campaigns? What are your thoughts on that? Should political candidates have to share who is funding their campaigns? Yes or no? Now, this is an interesting question in my personal opinion, right? Because it's something that I don't think Bermudians we care enough about. But why should we care about political campaign funding? I'll tell you a couple reasons why. You know all these deals that take place in Bermuda? Like these deals of maybe, let's say, a hotel or construction bids or anything that involves public money going to a private entity? Anything. Those could possibly be going. Those could possibly be going to someone who's politically supported someone. So I don't start trouble, I'm going to use candidate A, right? So let's say candidate A. Candidate A is running in this general election in Bermuda, right? And Maya Durham, Maya Durham decides, oh, I like this candidate. I'm going to give them $500 towards their campaign. And candidate A says, oh, great, perfect. Don't you have a construction company? Yes, I do. Okay. Well, I'll remember that once I get in. Well, candidate A is successful at the polls, and they get not even the public works ministry. Let's say they don't even get a ministry, but they have a relationship with the public works minister, whoever that may be, and someone who has a construction company was very influential in getting them into power, because that financing helped them with advertising, it helped them with banners, it helped them push, with canvassing and the like. Now, a big project comes up, and all of a sudden, there's no RFP out to tender, and it's going to Maya Durham. Now, the public doesn't know all of this. The public just thinks, oh, it's, bias, but they don't understand how deep it goes. Now, let's say an RFP does go out and they're successful. How do we know this person wasn't successful because of what they gave? Does that make sense, audience? So that's the most layman, broken down version I can give you about what, political finance and the bad side of it. Can it be good? Yes, it can be good. I mean, in the United States, there are a list of who billionaires donate to. I think it's time we in Bermuda got to find out. I think it's time we get to know. So what are your thoughts on political campaign financing? And should political candidates have to share who is funding their campaign? Yes or no? All right, here we go. And Suzanne, you know what? I got you today. I messed you up. We will give you a political joke today. I will give you one. So Marquita Lee, look what the Daily Hour did. She said that morning, 2 of the 3 candidates came to her house this weekend. Why? Because on Friday, she said that she hasn't seen any of the candidates. This is why the Daily Hour exists. We love that for you, Marquita Lee. We love that for you. And hopefully that 3rd candidate will show up. And you know what? Send us an email, engage@thedailyhour.com, Marquita. Let us know who the 3rd candidate is that didn't show up, and we'll send them a message for you. All right. Hadley and Swan says, I think it's okay to be anonymous. Okay. She said it's okay. Again, question of the morning. We've got, what are your thoughts on political campaign financing, and should political candidates have to share who is financing their campaign? Nicole Hassel says, no, she says, no, but I have an issue with a commercial I've seen multiple times using 2 relatives of mine who were not asked to be a part of their political campaign. They could have asked them first. Okay. We've got Suzanne Ingham said that I think political campaigners should be exposed. No secrets. Transparency is vital to me. Taj Donville Otterbridge says donations over a certain amount, maybe over 5K, should definitely be made public, especially when from companies or interest groups. I like that, Taj. I do. I appreciate that. Companies and interest groups. Yes. Renee Simmons says deals of corruption. It happens. That's why we should be aware of any candidate accepting funding. It's a quid pro quo, not always, but it certainly happens. So I'm glad you all understand the importance of campaign financing. I'm glad. I'm glad because I want. I'm trying to figure out where I stand with this. If I'm a yes or no. I'm really trying to figure out where I stand on this. I am. It's almost like I'm not completely against it. I'm not against political campaign funding. I'm not sure how I feel about people it being made public, because you have people who actually genuinely support a party because maybe they support their agenda, like on social justice. They're not involved in the party. They don't want anything from the political party or the individuals, but they just support the party agenda because it aligns with their social agenda or whatever. I'm not sure how I feel about because some people don't want to have anything to do with politics, right? But on the other, I think what Taj said is where I'm at. I think organizations, but then you've got people who will say, well, it's the individual, not the organization, you know? I don't know. It's a hard one. Anyway, audience, what are your thoughts on political campaign financing, and should political candidates have to share who is funding their campaigns? Nicole Walker says, yes, there should be full transparency. There's a reason why politicians are called politically exposed persons in the compliance/financial crime space. Now, teach me now, sister. Teach me. Suzanne Ingham says, I like Taj's response over a certain amount. I don't think I spelled Taj's name correctly. Yeah, it's Taj, T-A-G. T-A-J, sorry. Onion Soup says, oh, you mean like how a certain advisor to the premier donated 10K in Bitcoin last election? Oh, I did not know anything about that. Still don't know. Maybe I need to do my research. By the way, hold on. Let me just do something. Hold on, because this shows like this could get very interesting. So hold on 2 seconds. Hold on. Oh, hold on. What are we doing? What the? Okay. Well, I was trying to play the disclaimer because that comment ain't got nothing to do with us. All right. Yeah. I was trying to play the disclaimer to get us off, but it's not kind of working for me right now. But I'm just saying that was Onion Soup, and what Onion Soup and others say, it's not a reflection of myself or Maya or CDH sponsors and so on. Ellen Kate Horton says, yes, over a certain amount, perhaps this will get the jobs should the party you're supporting win. Perhaps this will get you the jobs should the party you're supporting win. And that's kind of what I said earlier, folks. I think we deserve to know. We deserve to know. In order to avoid conscription, in order to avoid corruption, I think it's key. This is a level of transparency that Bermudians need and deserve. I want to bring Maya in early, but I'm grateful. I just want to say this once again. I'm grateful to the two companies, both Titan and Secure, for supporting these daily discussions. I think these are probably some of the most important conversations that we can have in our community. I re-emphasize, and part of our messaging on the Daily Hour is, again, we're not a podcast, we're not a morning radio show, we're a news talk show where we're going to discuss things that should matter to our community, not in a favorable or unfavorable way, but in a way where we can all honestly come together, share ideas, debate, and find a way to ensure that Bermudians are benefiting from all that they put into their community. Let's go through these final few comments before we bring Maya Palacio in for the Daily Hour news break. We've got Taj Donville, Outerbridge. He said it's a safeguard against corruption. The more of those you have, the better. We've got Michael Daniel says, if I'm being sneaky, there are better ways to go about it. Indeed. I absolutely agree. Michelle White says, I think there should be accountability and honest business. Like Taj said, maybe over a certain amount and also without expectation of favorite contracts. How many times have we asked ourselves, how did a certain business get a contract? Shall we now assume it's because they are heavy donors? Jamudian says, good morning. If someone joined both parties as a regular member and attend both rallies and conferences, is that considered misleading? One could be trying to make up their mind based on information. Absolutely. I don't think that's the conversation this morning, but absolutely, I agree. Derek Hendrickson says, is funding a campaign really the campaign for the campaign at all? How effective do you really believe the campaigns are to getting elected? That's a valid point, because we asked people last week, have they already made up their mind? Like, so many people in Bermuda vote based on trends, like their family and how they feel. I'd like to figure out how many swing voters Bermuda actually has, and we'll end it with these last two. We've got Suzanne Ingham says, transparency is really vital. Corruption is way too easy when there's no transparency. I think we've had more than enough of the hidden in government. Ricardo Griffith says, I agree above a certain limit, because small people that want to contribute may get backlash if an employer or other influential organization is aware of who they supported. All right, let's bring Maya Palacio in for Daily on this break after we give thanks for our sponsors of the Daily Discussion.
The Daily Discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Visit TitanEXBDA.com, your leading tour and transport provider specializing in Black History tours throughout the island. And SecureBDA.com for all your property management, waste management, residential, and commercial trucking needs. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is our commitment to you.
All righty, it's time for Daily Hour News Break with Maya Palacio.
Good morning. Good morning.
Greetings, MP. How are you today?
Honestly, feeling a bit refreshed this morning, surprisingly enough.
Oh, well, that's a good thing, I believe.
Yeah, especially for the long nights and news and reports I've been having to bring to the show. But yeah, feeling pretty good this morning.
I mean, campaign financing was our conversation this morning, and little birdie told me that you have this big story on campaign financing, huh?
I indeed have been working on this story for, I want to say, almost 2 weeks.
Oh, boy.
Most of it came from just following up and up and up and up and up to get you guys some voices to speak on this actual debate and topic. So yeah.
Well, audience, whatever you're doing right now, buckle up. Put that seatbelt on tight. Over to you, MP.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is your Daily Hour News Break brought to you by the good people at People's Pharmacy. We're going to start out our news break first by mentioning what has happened over the weekend. So the Progressive Labour Party is rallying supporters ahead of the upcoming general election. And at their central family reunion event, the PLP members called for unity and party loyalty. Now, we're going to hear from one member, who is the Education Minister, Diallo Urbane, who addressed the crowd and what he said during this night. This one specifically pertaining to education and what the PLP has done so far when it comes to schooling, what they plan to do moving forward.
And this is why, no matter how hard the fight is, we will never shy away from the hard work that's ahead of us, no matter how difficult it is. In education, we are making the biggest transformation in the history of this island. Because the Progressive Labor Party refuses to leave our young people unprepared for the jobs of tomorrow. Just like we're doing in education, just like we're doing in housing, just like we're doing in healthcare, and just like we're continuing to do for our seniors.
So,
Well, that's
while that was
contrary to a report from TNN late last night after the Super Bowl, where the title read, "Teachers Demand Change in Bermuda's Failing Education System." But
Let me continue on with my story. But while the PLP promotes its campaign, some teachers in Bermuda's public school system are speaking out. In an interview with TNN News, frustrated educators accused the Ministry of Education of failing students, particularly Black children. One teacher criticized the Cambridge curriculum, saying it's not serving our children well. Others argue that too many students are being placed in special education when they don't need to be there. Another concern, the signature school system, which requires 12-year-olds to choose a career path. One teacher questioned, these kids don't even know why they come to school, let alone what they want to do for the rest of their lives. The teachers also had words for the minister, Diallo Bain, who is on track to become Bermuda's longest-serving education minister, and some called for his removal, arguing he refuses to listen to educators.
My apologies, MP. I knew you were on that, but sorry to hear.
It's a continuous spin, and I think we'll be also reporting some more things, I would say next week, regarding the different schools who may have also have new petitions running and going up. As we said before, some of the schools that have been able to stay in place, like the West End and some in the East schools as well, these kind of show precedent that whatever is set in stone is not really concrete. And things can change and shift, especially when the community, wants these things to change and shift.
Yep.
All right, so moving over, in other news, campaign funding. So I've been chasing a story in regards to promises made for legislation, party views, whether or not any candidate can speak on the amount. But does the amount matter or who it comes from? Here's your story.
Would you vote differently if you knew who was funding your favorite political party? Right now in Bermuda, you don't have that option. As the 2025 general election approaches and new voters enter the sphere, a major question resurfaces. Should voters have the right to know who is funding their leaders? In countries like the UK, Canada, and the US, campaign donations are tightly regulated. The UK, for example, requires political parties to report their finances and limits campaign spending. The United Kingdom's campaign finance laws are primarily governed by the Political Parties, Elections, and Referendums Act of 2000. This legislation mandates that political parties register with Electoral Commission, adhere to specific accounting practices, and imposes controls on donations. But here in Bermuda, with no law in place, the election season brings with it the baggage of unanswered questions and unkept promises. In 2017, quoting from a Burn News article, a statement by PLP member Levita Fogo read, Opposition leader David Burt and the PLP are on record supporting campaign finance reform. The next PLP government will introduce legislation to regulate political campaign finances to ensure a level playing field and reduce the risk of corruption at a political level. We believe that the best policy ideas should win, not the political party with the biggest war chest. We see the introduction of campaign finance laws as a long overdue safeguard for our democracy. Yet years later, that promise remains unfulfilled, and despite requests for comments, the PLP did not respond by time of this story. Yet the statement has not escaped the minds of many, as FDM Chairman Omar Dio shares his thoughts on the implementation of campaign finance reform.
Many voters are disillusioned with the process, and rightly so. I believe it was a campaign promise in 2017 that hasn't been fulfilled. So people are looking for transparency and honesty and some more following through of promises. So I think it would greatly benefit democracy in Bermuda if we were able to move towards more transparent campaign finance laws.
Laws which OBA leader Jaren Richardson says are well within their party's platform. While both the OBA and FDM see the need for oversight, with Omar Deal saying if we had finance laws right now, it would be a whole different campaign, yet they both argue that full donor transparency could discourage legitimate contributions. Independent candidate Rakai Emery also agreed to the need for campaign finance legislation, and again, not disclosing the donor. He says, "I don't think we should release the names of donors. That is going to make it harder for parties and people to receive funding. I would be fine with laws that show the frequency and amount of donations. If we start to name donors, we could trample on their right to free expression and make it more difficult for them to enter the political process." Similarly, OBA leader Darren Richardson agrees.
People are entitled to their privacy. You're talking about personal information protection, privacy rights. So I don't think it would be right in a modern democracy to name every single person who ever donated to, publicly name every single person who's ever donated to whichever political party or all of them.
Elections raise not only the anticipation of political losses, but also concerns about accountability or even corruption. So what benefit is there to naming a donor? Does it alleviate any speculation of corruption? Human rights activist and political commentator Taj Donville Otterbridge says the electorate has a right to know what individuals, groups, and or companies are making sizable donations to political parties and candidates, as donations are often used to wield influence, secure government contracts, and affect policy. We ultimately have an interest and thus a right to know who wields this kind of undue influence over our government. Without legislation, we are simply leaving it up to political parties and independent candidates to accept and deny donations on merit and morals.
I know the OBA has turned back donations where we have deemed it inappropriate for a donation to come from someone. So, for example, there's a great story of when we were in government and someone wanted to offer some money, and we said, "Look, that we can't do that. It would break our system of belief." But it wouldn't have broken any laws.
Globally, donor transparency has led to both accountability and controversy. Consumers have backed or boycotted businesses based on their political affiliations, like Starbucks facing a boycott over Gaza, or recently Costco's overwhelming support for continuing to implement their DEI policies. Elections shape the future, but who's shaping the elections? Is it time for Bermuda to take real steps toward campaign finance laws? And if you knew who funded a party, would it change your vote?
Awesomeness, MP. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. That was honestly great work there. I'm curious. I'm very curious as to why the Bermuda Progressive Labor Party did not respond. And the reason I'm curious is because you got to stand on your ground, stand on your words. Now, hopefully, this encourages them to put something out, because it was in one of the platforms previously, and you did quote the Honorable former Minister Levita Fogo. Look, something you said at the end of that, which is what I really want everyone to really take in. Who are we here to protect? While I understand what Rakai Emery is saying is, what is this all about? Is it about big business and people with money, protecting them? Or is it ensuring transparency and anti-corruption for the greater good of the community? If Jamal Hartman, it's not like, so I think we're comparing it with the vote. Like, your vote is between you and yourself. Financing is different, folks. It's different. I can tell you right now that as a show, financially, we would not support a political party, because our position as far as politics is, well, I'm anti everything. But these guys, that's not our job to influence anyone either way, and we're not interested in government contracts. But it's after listening to that, I definitely would love to see some level of transparency, especially with some of the deals that have happened in Bermuda. And I'm not going to call anything out because I'm not Kendrick Lamar. I don't have his pockets to, deal with a Drake lawsuit. I'm just saying, folks, do your own due diligence. Go back through some deals and ask yourself, I wonder who is Bermuda's Elon Musk to David, not David Trump. I wonder who is the Elon Musk to Donald Trump in Bermuda's space. I want us to ask ourselves that. And then you'll probably come to a conclusion that, maybe, just maybe, we need to implement this law sooner rather than later. The answer might be right in front of your face. Continue, MP. I'm sorry.
I will say, in terms of that story, the things that you didn't see there, but I can mention right now, did reach out to Piper as well, as Piper has new legislation when it comes to protection laws, to see if that impacts in any way whether or not a party can actually share who the donor is. Obviously, we still need legislation to still be formed around that. Also, in stating in my research and finding out there are donors who have also supported more than one party, maybe even all three. So that's also, don't know who, but it has been stated from the interviews that I had that, some of these donors don't just support one party, they support more than that. And also just leaning into the why not, because you heard a lot of that, is so people don't feel like they can't participate in the political process, whether that be should people who just give a $10 donation be mentioned, $500, $20, or is it those big heavy hitters, which again, we don't have any limits and there's no one for any party to talk to or who regulates any of this that's happening.
There's a saying, Maya, the saying, and everyone's heard the saying. It's not a big philosopher thing or not, but it goes like this: follow the money. Continue.
Well, I'm going to close it out today with just our weather reports for today. So it says early sunny periods, a few showers, mainly earlier and later in the afternoon. Winds are looking a bit moderate, so not too hard, but still when you're out there on that bike, it feels a little bit worse. So make sure you're wrapped up still. And we've got a high of 71, so we're pulling out of the 60s, but don't expect it to be warm. Not that warm.
Thank you so much for that, Maya. Appreciate your dedication and commitment to getting that story. Do you know today is actually Umbrella Day? Yeah, Umbrella Day.
Okay.
Didn't know we had a day for umbrellas, but folks.
There are some fancy umbrellas. There are some really fancy umbrellas, so not surprising. I think the umbrellas at the Olympic Games actually have been resold for like almost $200, $500. Like, crazy. So yeah, Umbrella Day.
Outside of blocking yourself from the sun or rain, like what else is umbrella used for?
Pictures.
Okay, cool. All right. She answered that fast.
You just see them all in Victoria era, like, because they were really pretty back then. Like they really it was a craftsmanship having an umbrella, and then it became again just some sort of commission, fast-paced, get your money type thing. As a lot of things do, and they lose the lackluster of beauty just to be commercialized and pushed and mass-produced.
Can I leave you with a joke before you head out for the day?
Sure.
Okay. All right, here's your political joke today, folks. Hold up, let me make sure my laugh and so. Okay, my laughs it's all working now. All right, folks. Here's your political joke for the day. This is a nice one. All right, so you all will not get me in trouble today. Audience and Maya, why did the politician go to the left?
Because it felt right. That's as good as it's going to get from me.
Because he couldn't find the right answers, Maya. Hold on, real quickly. Which side's the left and right in politics? Is the left like the conservatives?
No, I thought left is liberal, right is conservative.
Oh, okay. I sorry, my ignorance. Sorry. It was funny though, right? It was funny though, right? You couldn't get it right.
I feel like mine was funnier, but okay.
Okay. Maya, you have a wonderful
because things are blurring the lines now, right? A lot of people feel like the left is sort of depending on where you are. Anyway.
I need to go back to politics school, folks. Folks, we've got Dr. Douglas Couto from the OBA coming up. Another conversation with another political candidate. We're going to shift gears with this one, though, because they were talking about him the other night at the rally. They were talking about do you know what they were saying? They were saying like, oh, his financial plan isn't going to take care of seniors. All this stuff they were saying. So I'm going to ask him about that stuff. Yeah, I'm acting like it's just you and I in a room, huh?
I'm excited to hear, but I also do want to hear about his poster being torn down. I do want to know a little bit of background into that, because when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's unfortunate. But again, I think it also speaks to like we just keep talking about how these promotions or advertisers or whatever, this election campaign has really shown us like what to do, what not to do, or how people are going to react to some things, and it's new.
Yeah. You think, you know what? Let's bring
Will he
it
do it again? Like, anyway.
See you later, MP.
Bye.
Folks, no matter what platform you're on, if you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, Instagram, website, please do us one big favor. It's about 200 of you tuned in. Give us a like, love, follow, share, subscribe. Just show us some love, and we'll come back. Get your questions ready for Dr. Douglas Couto. We'll be back in 2 minutes, 42 seconds. Stick with us.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
When it comes to footwear, we carry functional, comfortable, orthopedic, and waterproof shoes. We have construction shoes, golf shoes, shoes for walking, shoes for boating. We even have shoes for pickleball. We have shoes for everyone. With brands by Skechers, Atrax, Propay, Easy Street, Nursemates, Clogs, Avenger, Cherokee, Cat, Frog Talk, and DeWalt. The list goes on.
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
Unlock your business potential with BDC's General Microloan, offering up to $30,000 for Bermudian small and medium businesses. Whether it's for inventory, working capital, or equipment, we provide 100% guarantee on approved loans. Simple application, low interest rates, and fast processing. Apply today and make your business dream come true.
The One Bermuda Alliance is committed to securing Bermuda's future. We believe the island can return to the prosperous place it once was for everyone. The only way to do this is through fiscal responsibility and creating opportunities for residents to thrive. We envision a Bermuda where our young people are valued and will want to build their futures. We are a team of diverse Bermudians who bring a depth of expertise across industries. We have what it takes to turn Bermuda around. Vote OBA on February 18th.
Bermuda Trivia, the Black History Edition, is now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Visit bermudatrivia.com or email contact@bermudatrivia.com to learn more.
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. Jamel Hartman here. It's the Daily Hour, brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. Folks, please don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Just a big update. We did let you know that we once again will be having general election coverage on February 18th. We will be joined by guest commentators. We will have former OBA Minister Patricia Gordon-Pamplin in studio with us. We will have the first leader of the OBA, interim leader, John Barrett. And we'll also have former Premier of Bermuda, Dr. the Honorable Ewart Brown, along with Taj Donville Otterbridge, a young Bermudian who is very vocal and social justice advocate. So we'll be having a great lineup. We'll have our various members of our team at the headquarters and amongst the people. speaking with you about how you're feeling about the election. So you don't want to miss our election night coverage. We are going to be available and there for you. I want to just give a shout out to Channel 82. Not only will we be streaming on all of our social media platforms, we will also be on Channel 82. Big props to Crimson Media and Lamone Woods out there. So we'll have access to you and for you on election night. So stick with us, rock with us, and we'll do our best to bring you the best election night coverage for Decision 2025. Without further ado, let's bring in our guest for the day. We've got OBA Senator. It's running for constituency 25, candidate for constituency 25 for the One Bermuda Alliance. Let's give a warm TDH welcome to Dr. Douglas Couto. Greetings, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm great. I've been really enjoying the show this morning, especially Maya's segment, which I think is a really, really important topic for us.
Well, you know what? I mean, you're a finance guy. I'm very proud of Maya, and I don't think people. Maya hasn't slept. You know, she was texting me last night, and it was not that I was ignoring her. I was just watching the game. And Maya, I'm so sorry, but she's been working on that story, and this is why I keep telling people. You know, I think they see us for an hour a day, see her for maybe 10 to 15 minutes, but there's so much that goes into that, especially when you have to wait on people. And Maya does these stories without bias. She does them because of public interest. And I'm grateful, forever grateful to her. And she's, you know, we've got Simone Vaughn, who's also part of the team along with Teo, who are really working on stories to bring to the Bermudian people. Because I'll be honest with you, sir. Before she mentioned it to me, I hadn't even thought of it. I'm going to be honest with you. I hadn't. So if I hadn't thought of it, I guarantee you, I mean, I'm not the moral barometer or whatnot, but many people probably hadn't thought of it. But since you appreciated that segment, and you know, obviously the leader of the One Bermuda Alliance, Jaron Richardson, shared his opinion. Let's start with that. Like, what are your thoughts on campaign financing?
Well, definitely support some kind of reform, and I think Jaron covered it really well. You know, I probably couldn't get too much in the details of what it would look like because we'd have to do a little bit of research. But you know, I think Maya really covered well some of the topics. So, like, should small donations be reported to the public? You know, that I think is something worth thinking about. Should big donations? Yes. Should there be spending limits? You know, probably yes. Should there be reporting of big donations? Probably yes. And then, you know, something they do in other jurisdictions is, in fact, the campaigns are actually funded by the government. Do you know what I mean? Like, look, if you have a party, you just get X and you get Y, and there's like a formula, and maybe you don't even allow public donations. Like, those are some of the variables. Certainly, some kind of reform would definitely be fitting in with the part of our platform, which is about being accountable to the people. And I know that you know, my colleagues in the caucus, I'm pretty sure it'll be one of our robust discussions among the 36 of us coming to a landing on the details of what we would like to support. Because I think Maya's piece also outlined a lot of the issues that perhaps reasonable people could disagree on, but directionally, yes, reform.
Indeed, and thank you for that. Thank you for that. And just before we get into the meat of today's conversation, Josh Fremont, you've been on the show before, so you're not a stranger. But there are some people who may be tuning in for the first time. Some may not be familiar with you. They may be in different constituencies. But I always say, you know, it starts with the constituency, but one person from one constituency could end up being your finance minister. So tell the audience a bit about your background and what it is that you do.
Sure. Professionally, I've been working in the insurance reinsurance industry for like 18 years. I have a PhD in computer science, so I'm not a medical doctor. But since here in Bermuda, you know, the styling is for people to use the term doctor. I do use it because other people are. So, you know, you could maybe just call me Doug. Yeah, so my background is technology, and that's how I got started in that industry. And now I'm basically an executive. I run a team of people who do technical work. You know, I've got a family. I've got a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old. I have a 22-year-old daughter she was 22 in less than a month, and she's graduating from university. I have a fabulous wife who is a very highly experienced HR executive, and you know, first I want to say thank you to my family for supporting me in the work that I'm doing, because I know they're paying a price. I did get home to watch the Super Bowl and make wings and nachos with my boys. They're not so worried about the football game, but the nachos, that was a highlight. They were into that. I've been involved in the One Bermuda Alliance since 2020. I kind of stepped in on that snap election kind of as a favor for a friend. There's another story there, but I'm not going to get into it now. But and I remember I came home to my wife. I said, "Oh, sweetie, look, I just have to do this thing for 5 weeks, and then we'll be back to normal. So don't worry, it'll all be over in 5 weeks." And here we are, basically 4.5 years later. I've been in the Senate for 2 years and serving as effectively the OBA shadow finance minister. It's a good fit for my background and my training. When I was in university, I also studied finance and have some qualifications through that there. So it's a natural fit for me.
Cool. Yeah, love and family to allow you to put up with what you're gonna be what you're already putting up with. So politics and family, I don't think people understand how it can take a toll on such. I think we've spoken with some people off the racket on how it's impacted them. So I get it. And with children at those tender ages, 10 and 12, yeah, it's a lot of time away from them. So I think the general public doesn't appreciate that enough. But let's get into your constituency. You're contesting a constituency that has really been either way. In the last election, it was won by the PLP. And prior to that, it was won by the PLP in a by-election. The OBA had won it prior to that. I believe that's the seat Dale Butler had held for some years, but he had to work extremely hard to hold on to it.
And let me tell you, I hear about him every time I knock on the door.
I can imagine. I mean, he was, look, I'll never forget this. I don't know what election it was, but Dale Butler had won that seat. It may have been against Gina Spence one year. And while everyone was out partying at Court Street and whatnot, people were like, "Oh, Butler's out there thanking his constituents." That's the kind of person that he was. So in saying that, it's considered a marginal.
Yeah, that's fair.
At this point, what are you hearing on a doorstep that you believe can swing it your way?
So 25, right? It goes from big houses on Harbor Road. It goes over to the Railway Trail. It's got Spring Hill. It's got Chunk of Ord Road, Tribe Road 2. It's got a real mix of a real slice of Bermuda, okay? It's got all different old style family neighborhoods and neighborhoods that have more turnover. I can tell you, having been knocking on doors for 3 years, everybody is sick of the government. Okay, there's a handful of people who say, I say, "Hey, how are you doing?" I say, "I've got nothing to complain about." And say, "Okay, let me move on here." I got you. But as a rule, and even, let's just call it deep green, people who say, "Well, I used to be a delegate, or I used to be, I'm a PLP supporter, but," and then, then I have to sit down and then I hear about the upsetness. That's a huge theme. That's like the political theme, in terms of what's impacting people, really cost of living. That's the thing. Now, that means different things for different people, right? The seniors are like, how do I pay my health insurance and buy groceries? People with children are really concerned about the education and the cost for private school, or maybe if they're like, middle class, they're worried about their mortgage and trying to be on the housing ladder. Young Bermudians, if you can find them, which is very hard to do canvassing, they're sort of saying, how do I even pretend I could build a life here and get housing for myself and put my roots down here? So we see all the different aspects, but ultimately I put them all under the cost of living. Obviously, they break out as like healthcare, education, housing, and stuff like that.
And I'm glad you said cost of living can mean so many different things, and we'll touch on that in a bit as well. Go a bit deeper on that, but I was challenged by one of the Daily Hour sponsors on Saturday to watch the PLP rally, and I watched the press conference by Sir John I think last week as well. And one of my colleagues said this weekend to me, said, "You really have no problem saying sorry and taking accountability." And I said, "Yeah, because I take risk, and people who take risk, you mess up, right?" And it happens. One of the things that seems to be missing in politics, regardless of party, sometimes is accountability, right? And I guess what has been said about the OBA is really turning the tide. So, for instance, the thing about pension, we gave seniors this pension increase over and over, and well, a former finance minister in the OBA told seniors, well, money doesn't grow on trees. Where do you believe the Progressive Labour Party have gone wrong with the economy? And how would an OBA government fix it?
Well, let me just step on right into the pension thing, because I know it's a major PLP talking point. They want to make it sound like the OBA is against seniors' pensions. And the reality, nothing could be further from the truth. And frankly, Jamal, they will say all kinds of things that are, let me put it delicately, mistaken. We are on the record numerous times in the public and in the legislature, on the record, talking about how we support taking care of our seniors. We support pensions increase. And by the way, the PLP, it's the law. They have to do it. It's not like David Burt woke up and was like, maybe today I'll increase the pensions to see how I feel, right? So, it's in the law that they increase. So we definitely want to support the pensions. The reality is the pension funds are running out of money. Okay, that's the reality. So I think people can appreciate that we have a major concern here, because yes, we have to support the seniors today. We have to support what I like to call the junior seniors. And then I'm talking about myself in 15, 20 years, when I come to draw on my social insurance, will it be there? And I think it's an incredibly fair question for the public to ask the Progressive Labour Party government, what's your plan for making sure that money will be there? And in fact, Minister Curtis Dickinson at the time was finance minister. He laid out, the way the issues that have to be addressed, whether it be, more people paying into the pensions, social insurance, less money being paid out, more money being paid in, or retire later. Those aren't like what I would call value judgments. Those are like just mathematical options to do it. And so a government will have to figure out which of those options to apply. And I noticed that the PLP has been incredibly silent on that. They only want to talk about the payouts that they'll do, but they never talk about the other side of the equation, because it's tough and it's not a fun topic. Now, we can promise that we will carry out an appropriate pension reform that will both ensure the health of the pensions for the seniors today and the seniors of tomorrow, and we will do it in a consultative way, right, that is fair. I mean, you can't just not solve the problem. So that's what I kind of have to say about pensions there. On the state of the economy, right, we kind of have a multiple prong track on this. And I think the thing we're most concerned about is the local economy. Again, the Premier and his capacity as finance minister and the PLP government, they've been touting this massive economic success. And IB has done really well. 90% of the GDP growth has been driven by IB and local financial services. That's from the government's own figures. So from before COVID to 2023, which is where we have to end of 23, which is where we have the latest breakdowns, only 0.4% growth per year in the what I like to call the local economy. That's essentially none. So I view it as sort of like a crisis there. Right? So some of our approaches are obviously cut red tape. We constantly hear from people about they're trying to do something and government's going too slowly, or government's not being transparent or fair enough, right? So that's step one. We want to figure out how to get more investment in Bermuda. It could be local or overseas investment, do projects that are hiring Bermudians. And again, that comes also down to red tape. It comes down to going out there and aggressively marketing Bermuda internationally. We've done some consultation with people who kind of outlined that, they've had to sort of drag people from government sort of kicking and screaming off on these marketing trips to address segments of things that could come to Bermuda and maybe add something into the economy, a type of business, or grow a certain type of business. So we think that there's room there. Certainly the OBA government in the past did a very good job of attracting lots and lots of inward direct investment. We want to cut payroll taxes for new young Bermudian hires to incentivize their hiring as well. And we're certainly going to look very closely at the local tax system, especially for like retailers and local businesses, because we know that that's quite a burden on them for cash flows and adds on to the cost. So there's a lot of other things. I mean, I might have to stop there lest I bore the audience and a lot of minutiae.
No. And thank you for providing that stuff. And audience, continue to send your questions and comments. We'll definitely get to you. We will get to you in a few. But as I'm listening to you, I think one of the things that stands out in politics is often people say a lot of stuff and then they don't follow through. I mean, Maya just did a story today about campaign financing, right? The OBA also in 2012 had a lot of things in their platform. I just mentioned that, you know, the whole government money doesn't grow on trees by a former OBA minister. But why should people, like the general public, right? When the fear mongering takes place, one of the things is the One Bermuda Alliance government, if they're successful and become government, why should, like, tell the people why they should trust that you're not going to take from them.
Gotcha. Well, look, at some level, you have to trust. Okay. I can tell you this, you do know what you're getting now with the PLP government. Like, that's something that you know, and the outcome's not been good. Okay. Like, that's a known quantity. Why would you expect that government to change how it operates? And why would you expect them to magically be able to start doing a good job? So think about that. Number two, people who know me, people in the constituency, know about the work I've been doing, they know how I show up. People who know me personally or take the time to actually read about the things that I say, that I write about, rather than, the things that are said, let's call it mistakenly by the PLP government, can also see some of the detail behind my thinking and how I operate, right? They can meet my colleagues. Most of us have been working 3, 4, 5 years, no money, no pay, as a political party on a serious mission to bring success back to this island for our children. So I think that's indicative of the commitment. Members of my colleagues, our team, they don't have government boards, they don't have government contracts. I mean, like directly given government contracts on a personal basis and things like that. So, they are working really, really hard. And I think that's an indicative of our good faith and our passion. And, I'll leave it with this too. You will have a chance to put us in, and I urge people to do that, and then check back in 4 to 5 years, and then you'll have your chance to assess us. And I'm happy to be assessed on our record. And I know my colleagues are as well.
All right, audience, I'll get to some of your questions now. We've got Shamari Sky. He's asking, in your opinion, why did the OBA lose the last election?
So I wasn't involved running up to the election. So let me just caveat that. And I was not involved in the inner workings of the party. I literally rocked up 4 weeks beforehand, walked around in constituency 27 and stood at the polls. Frankly, some disorganization, some people not really working together as a team, things like that. Now, Jaren has talked a lot about this. We've made a ton of changes since then. Some people have sort of left the party who were probably not the team players that we required for our mission. We didn't have candidates in all the seats. We didn't have a candidate in 25 properly until the last minute, which is like a winnable seat. I can't explain the why. I'm just, those are observations that are frankly from the outside, because I wasn't around, that I think anybody else could have made as well. But the difference now is we have candidates all the seats. We've had candidates working a very long time in many of the seats. We've got a great platform, and we've been working together as a team, and have sort of built a unity of purpose and passion.
Well, one of the things that stood out to me and stands out to me, and sorry for that I'm referencing the Bermuda Progressive Labor Party a lot, but this is an election where you're pretty much going against them, the FDM, Independents, and Imperial Group. but using them as the government, one of the things that I noticed, and a couple of people brought to my attention, is the PLP's strategy to win political elections is to keep focusing on the past. And one of the things I noticed the other night is, as I was listening to the various speeches, the emotional part, race and the parts about, the one man, one vote, and things of that nature, things that literally happened before this administration. So it's like a lot of the things they were, saying, some of the people, were things that happened before this administration. How does the OBA, whether it's ties to the UBP or what people deem one of the worst only one-term governments ever, how do you get people to see beyond the past that this is a different party, different mentality? This is, how do you respond to that?
Well, first, come and talk to us. Come meet the candidates. Actually, listen to what we're saying. Second, like you just said something that's actually arguably incorrect. Ties to the UBP. There are like 2, 3 former UBP people are cabinet ministers in the PLP government. You see what I'm saying? So that's a convenient whipping post for the PLP to distract people. The other thing I would say, let's talk about history and emotion. So you can see all these books behind me. Some of you who are watching maybe can see a lot of them are Bermuda books. I'm a bit of a student of Bermuda history, and books are my weakness. And look, I'm a Anglo-Portuguese Bermudian guy. I've been working hard to understand, what's going on with Black Bermudian history to the extent that I can. And I acknowledge the history there. It's important, and we have to consider it. It's hugely important. And if you look at my colleagues in our caucus, it's more Black Bermudians than others. So it would basically be insulting to them, I would suggest, to say that those issues are not at the forefront of people's minds as we as a team work through our policy differences and things like that. And we talk a lot about emotion. And let me give you a story about emotion. And I'm going to have to leave out some details, but I was canvassing this weekend, and I spent some time in a person's apartment, and they were breaking down in tears, talking to me about the BHC's failure to find an appropriate home for their situation. I can't say any more details. So that's also emotion. Okay. And I hear emotion from people who are watching their children choosing to leave Bermuda and not come back because of the state that the country's in. So that's emotion of things today. So I think, let me leave those comments at that, because we want to acknowledge the past, learn from the past, understand the impact of the past on today, and use that to forge our path forward from today for our future. Versus, I would say the PLP is frankly trying to distract the voters from their poor track record.
But why? Because we've spoken about this on this show before, and just for clarity for the audience, if you don't know what Dr. Couto was talking about, both Honorable Minister Wayne Furbert and Kim Swan are former UBP leaders, and Jamal Simmons, I think he's been about 3 political parties. He also was a UBP MP. And we had a question last week, a trivia question. There are three former UBP leaders running in this election. Sir John, Kim Swan, and the Honorable Minister Wayne Furbert. And it's interesting because none of them are running for the One Bermuda Alliance, to your point. But I think it's important. I think what I'm trying to understand, and you can't answer this, is, I guess, why is it so easy to tie the OBA to the UBP versus the PLP when they have the last person to lead the UBP as a sitting MP, a former UBP leader who's a minister, as well as a former UBP MP. And I think the answer for me would probably be, if we go back to Maya's segment, well, who do the people who financially supported the UBP behind the scenes, who do they support? That's probably what they'll go to. I don't know, but I take your point on the surface. Want to add anything more to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
This strategy that the PLP has may not be working for them as well as they like. They have a quite inflammatory flyer that is basically slanderous. And I had someone, talk to me about it. They're like, I got this, I'm and they're like, yeah, I voted PLP, but this is like, one, I'm not interested in hearing about this. I want to hear about solutions from you today. And they're talking about stuff that happened 12 years ago, so like, I'm worried about what's happening today. Okay. And that was in a deep PLP area. Now, that's not going to be true for everybody, but I'm just saying, and again, I don't have access to what everybody in Bermuda is thinking and doing. My experience has been when I interact with people on a one-on-one personal basis, and we start talking about their specific issues and the OBA specific plans to address those issues, they perk up. So.
Well, we've got Sean Smith. He's asking, Sean Smith over in Portugal. I remember that. Would the OBA strengthen Public Accounts Committee so I don't have to hear about looking under the hood regarding Bermuda finances when parties get into office?
Yes. That is a committee that's under-resourced and is subject to a lot of political manipulation by like people not showing up or like hamstringing its operations. So yes, we would strengthen that, and that would come under a component of our platform about accountability to the public. I'm picking it up to read it verbatim, but we have a thing in there about making committee meetings public. And the way that committee works now is everyone on the committee has to show up and vote to agree to make it public. So you can see why that's difficult. So short answer, yes.
Alrighty. We've got another question. Michael Daniels was asking earlier, who would be responsible for tracking donations? That was how we began the conversation after Maya's story, but how would we track that?
I don't know. Perhaps the parliamentary registrar, perhaps some other watchdog. We'd have to figure that out. So
I actually appreciate that answer. I really do. It's better than lying, and it's better than playing politics. Seriously.
Like, look, you're gonna have to pay someone to do the work.
Yeah.
That's how it comes down to. There's gonna have to be an office. They're gonna have to collect data. They're gonna have to audit the parties. They're gonna have to publish the data. It doesn't magically happen. And let me leave it at that.
All right. We've got a question. Charles H. Jeffs II, he's asking, if the OBA were to win, would Dr. Couto be open to Curtis Dickinson serving as finance minister? A coalition government would send a strong message to the electorate in doing what's best for Bermuda.
Absolutely. For me and the people in our party, our mission is about the better outcome from Bermuda. We're not doing this for like position, if that makes sense. A lot of us, in fact, are kind of in different ways, and works differently for different people, have by doing this work have negatively impacted their personal careers or let me just leave it at that. It looks different for each candidate, but yeah, whatever is going to get the best outcome for Bermuda, we're supportive of. Although the one thing we're not supportive of is a progressive Labour Party government, because we believe their actions and the outcomes that they've produced have demonstrated poor outcomes for our country. Oh, I can't hear you. Jamal, just I couldn't hear what you were saying, but I can see the question.
Sorry. I said, yeah, the question, audience, if you're just listening, is what are your thoughts on MPs that will possibly increase funds available for pensioners, less MPs with a slightly higher salary and still sufficient for pensioners?
Yeah, we actually have on our platform an item that says review the existing Westminster system, consider ways to reduce the cost of government, improve the quality of political candidates, and create a better functioning parliamentary system. So the short answer is, yeah, that's definitely on the table for us to look at. It would require, I think, maybe some constitutional changes, but I'm sure if Bermuda got behind it, that would not be an issue. So,
all righty. Let's look. Tell the audience why you believe One Bermuda Alliance is the best group to lead Bermuda at this point in 2025.
Sure. I mean, that's the crux of the question. Okay. And for me, it's a combination of things. It's about the expertise that we have on our team, right? We have many people with great track records. It's about the diversity of our team. and we have people from across all walks of life, blue collar, white collar, pink collar, like the helping services. We've got entrepreneurs, we've got quote unquote business people like myself. It's about the team that we've developed and the way that we operate. And we take our principles very seriously. It's about the ideas that we have and the quality of the ideas. And it's about what I would put to you will be our relentless focus on execution. That means getting it done and getting results for the people. Like I said, none of us are in this thing for like a position, like, oh yeah, like I don't want to win. I don't want to get a seat and sit on the back bench so I can go hang out up there on Fridays. Like I honestly literally have better things to do. And a lot of my colleagues do. We want to become part of the government because we want to get the outcomes to help the people. And that's why I got into this. And, when I'm walking around, when I'm meeting people where they are and I'm seeing their situations, I'm like, this is not good enough. And I know that I know that many of my colleagues share that sentiment. And this is our way of pitching in to improve Bermuda.
Indeed. If you're unsuccessful at the polls, how do you plan to stay politically engaged?
Sure. So if I don't win my seat, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna probably spend a little bit of time with my family, and we're gonna have to have some tough conversations. I gotta see what's happening in my career. But generally my plan is to keep doing what I've been doing.
All right.
I might have to take the foot off the gas for a little bit to kind of catch my breath, and then get back into it.
Fair enough. Charles H. Jefferson II says, I appreciate that response, Dr. Couto. I wish all candidates were running for Bermuda and not against anyone else or for their own personal gain. One of the challenges that some of the candidates who've come on this show have stated is that it's really hard to see 11 to 1,300 people in the span of 6 weeks. And although some have been candidates for a while and had more time, even then you're not going to get to see every person. So where can those who may not get the opportunity to speak with you go to learn more, and maybe your plans for not just the constituency, but for Bermuda?
Yeah, great question. Well, we have a great website, oba.bm/team. And for me and all of my colleagues, there's a web page with our emails, our phone numbers, and we each have a sort of personal statement, or most of us do, about our priorities. I'm easy to find on Twitter and Facebook as well, and Instagram, although I'm not on there as actively as I'd like to be. So hit me up. And I think if people live in that constituency, they've probably been inundated with paperwork that has my face, my name, my number on it. So I do look forward for them to reach out. It's hard to reach people. They're working, they're traveling. Even if you go by their house, 3-4 times, if you're just not in sync, you may miss them.
Indeed. And before you go, I ask everyone this final question. What final message would you say to the people of Bermuda as we are 1 week and a day out from this 2025 general election?
I appreciate the opportunity. We are, in my view and the view of my colleagues, we are a turning point in Bermuda. We have things like the corporate income tax, which may provide great opportunity, but also come with great risk. We have observed 8 years of PLP governance and the decline of the island under that governance, and the shrinking of the economy and the shrinking of the population. The vision that I have and that my colleagues have is of a Bermuda that's growing, that has opportunity and prosperity. And I strongly urge all voters to vote for the One Bermuda Alliance, because we have the full team, we have the plan, and we have the leadership, and we're ready to become the government on the 19th of February and start taking positive actions to improve Bermuda and opportunity for everybody.
Indeed. Dr. Couto, thank you so much for trusting our platform, coming on today. All the best going forward. And it's going to be interesting. Next Tuesday, you got a week. Tell your family you just got 1 week left.
I already had that conversation this morning. Let's just leave it like that.
Have a good one, sir. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
All right, Dr. Douglas Couto, folks, again, if you appreciated the conversation this morning, do us a favor, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share that conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. We're going to take a final break. Come back. I want to see if anyone knows the answer to this Bermuda trivia question. Seriously. You better not get this wrong. Don't let me down, audience. Minute 40, we'll be back.
Looking for the best care for your pets? Nova's Ark Feed and Supply has everything you need, from top quality foods to toys and supplies. We've got it all. Join our frequent buyer program and earn rewards every time you shop. Plus, we've been awarded the Clever Customer Initiative program for helping you save more. And don't forget, we open an hour early on Saturdays so you can get a head start on your pet care. Visit us today or shop online for easy pickup or delivery. Your pets will thank you.
Right. Who was the first woman to become not just the first female opposition leader in Bermuda, but throughout the entire British Commonwealth?
Dame Lewis Brown Evans.
Hey, buddy. Hun, who was the first woman to serve as opposition leader, not just in Bermuda, but throughout the entire British Commonwealth?
Dame Lewis Brown Evans.
Mason, what did you say?
Dame Lewis Brown Evans.
Dame Lois Brown Evans? Where do you find that?
Mommy playing Bermuda trivia.
Mommy playing Bermuda trivia.
Oh, honey, I'm so proud of you. Good job.
It's true. Children are a reflection of their environment. Bermuda's favorite trivia game. Fun with a purpose. To educate, to entertain, to inform, to inspire, to learn, and to enjoy. Bermuda Trivia. All volumes now available at various stores throughout Bermuda. Visit bermudatrivia.com to learn more and follow Bermuda Trivia on your favorite social media platforms.
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. Thanks again to Douglas Couto for stopping by. Kept muting myself because I was coughing in the background. But once again, just want to say, if you haven't already, make sure you give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Follow, share, repost, retweet, whatever you do. Make sure all your family, friends, and colleagues have access to these important community conversations. Also, props to Maya. I believe she's going to share that segment on our social media channels and maybe hers as well today. The segment about campaign financing. I appreciate her so much, as everyone on the team. The work that they do behind the scenes is just incredible, and it's a lot of work. So I want to give a big shout out. I don't know if I can say their names, but we had two people who have been with TDH from day one who made financial contributions to our efforts last week, and I just want to show them love. And if they allow me to share their names, I will share their names, but I appreciate you. I've seen your names in the comments since we started with Dexter Smith on episode number 1 in 2020. So we appreciate your financial contribution and support. You too can financially support us anyway. You can go on YouTube and hit join, or you can reach out and ask for our bank account information, and we can provide that as well. Big props to the BAC group of companies, Medical House, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we can do this with you on a regular basis. It is time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, audience, here we go. Let me get my music ready. All right. Y'all better know the answer to this. Who is the only male premier to lose a general election for their party? Yes, Sir Charles, you got that right. You're just on a winning streak. You got your Super Bowl with your Philadelphia Eagles last night, and now you got Michael Dunkley. Yes. No, Alex Scott never contested an election. Michael Dunkley is the only man to lose a general election as a premier. Could that happen to David Burt? We don't know. Time will tell. David Burt could be the first premier of the PLP to lead the party to what the Kansas City Chiefs failed to do last night, a repeat. Just for further clarification, the only other two premiers who have lost elections for their parties are Honorable former Finance Minister Paula Cox and Dame Pamela Gordon. Outside that, there are three premiers who have lost general elections. There are Dame Pamela Gordon, the Honorable former Finance Minister Paula Cox, and the Honorable former Premier Michael Dunkley. So that's your Bermuda trivia history for the day. How you like that? Everyone knew that, right? Everyone's going to know that going forward, right? Thank you. Appreciate you. All righty. Yes, Daily Hour, we appreciate all the support everyone gives to the Daily Hour. We've grown so much with all of you. We keep on growing. Thank you. Thank you. And we hope to see you all at the gala later this year. We're having the gala April 26th. Mark your calendars. We're going to celebrate 5 years, over 1,100 episodes. We're hitting 1,100 episodes of this show very soon. So we're going to be celebrating at a night of celebration and conversation and community. So you want to be a part of that. All right, here's your daily inspiration for the day. Quote, when you look yourself in the mirror as a man and say, I'm going to control the things I can control, that's how you get better. End quote. And that is the 2025 MVP of the Super Bowl winning Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts. Congrats. Such a humble brother, good person. I don't know him personally, but everything I learn about Jalen Hurts just makes you a fan. He is just this man, if you know his story. When he got dropped from the national title game when he was at Alabama, still went out there supporting his colleague. This man, every setback he's looked at as an opportunity to build back up. Folks, go learn about Jalen Hurts. He's an inspiration, the way he moves. We've got a slate of political candidates this week, but tomorrow, looking forward to having Ask the Expert back, one of your favorite segments on this show. Folks, don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. I'm Jamel Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are is out. Peace.